Okay, today we're going to have a presentation by Commonwealth Edison, and I've asked our village administrator to introduce him.
Yes. Sorry, we have Mike McMahon, Vice President of the Smart Meter Program, I believe, and Mike Foster, both from Commonwealth Edison, who will be here tonight. They're going to give us a brief presentation, give us a chance to ask a few questions regarding this new Smart Meter program. I have a list of questions if we haven't heard the answers yet. And then we're going to give the residents an opportunity to ask questions, and then the village board. This, I'm sure, is just kind of the first segment of informational pieces that will be coming out on this whole topic. I know Commonwealth Edison, I'm sure, will be sending out letters to individual residents, letting them know what's going on and when it's going to happen. But we thought we'd have them come out, tell us a little bit about the program and what the benefits would be. So with that, Mike and Mike, come on up.
Well, thanks, Steve and members of the board. Thanks for having us here tonight. As Steve had said, Mike McMahon is our Vice President of Automated Meter Infrastructure. He's seeing this whole program roll through. I think we're about halfway through our, just over halfway through 2 million of these installed so far, and we're kind of working our way into this neighborhood. So Mike will take you through a brief presentation, and we will be here to answer any questions you have after that. Thank you.
Okay, first, thanks for having us here tonight. I am Mike McMahon. I'm the Vice President for Automatic Meter Infrastructure, and I'm responsible for execution of the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act passed in October 2011. $2.6 billion authorized by the Illinois State Legislature to upgrade our infrastructure throughout the system. About half of that was in poles and devices we call distribution automation, smart substations, and about half of that was in smart meters. So we're rolling out smart meters. It's our new standard. We're rolling out smart meters throughout our entire service territory. We'll be done by December 31st, 2018. We're about halfway through. In fact, I think we expect to hit halfway, Jacob, March 23rd. March 23rd. We're going to be halfway through our 4,067,000 installations. We're just over 2 million right now. We install about 20 to 30,000 meters a week in our service territory. Here in Burr Ridge, we started in the dense areas of Chicago South and Chicago North. And then when the way you do these deployments based on our communications network, you always want to build adjacent to the network you've already built, because the meters communicate through a wireless network. So now we're out to the collar counties, and we're continuing that build out. I have a map here of where we'll be installing in Burr Ridge. Okay if I hand it around? So you all? And then we have this electronically as well, so you guys can post it on your website if you like. As you'll see on here, we're going to get most of the meters here installed in the last half of the year, last quarter of the year, and then we're going to come back in 2017 and finish up with the specialty meters. We call them A-bases, and with the commercial industrial meters. We have a series of communications we roll out for customers. What we know from our national deployments is this is not a build it and they will come. It is a change, and so you have to communicate with our customers, your constituents, about the change that's coming and what it means to them. So we send a bill insert out 90 days in advance. First one goes out April 15th. We send a postcard out 60 days in advance, and that will be going out May 20th. Got a bunch of them coming, so thank you. We have a robocall 10 days in advance. Well, we have a letter that goes 30 days in advance, 30 to 45 days in advance. It also has frequently asked questions on it, and it's in both English and Spanish, and that goes 30 days in advance. signed by yours truly here saying we're going to be in your neighborhood in about the next 30 to 45 days. If you'd like to call and make an appointment, please feel free to do that, and then gives them some information on that. And then 10 days before we do a robocall, it's not a human, it's a robocall, and it says we'll be in your neighborhood within the next 10 days. Please leave your gates unlocked and put your dogs inside. The day of, the installer will approach the residents. He'll knock on the door. If anybody's home, he'll engage them, answer any questions they may have. If they're not home and he has access to the meter, he'll go ahead and exchange that, and he will leave a door card with some information on the smart meter, saying congratulations, you have a smart meter. Here's some of the things you can do to take advantage of that. Now, in this area, your meters will be installed by, is it ComEd or Corex here, Jacob? I think we're going to be, your meters will be installed by either ComEd directly, or our vendor Corex. And in any case, they will all carry a badge. They will carry an authorized badge saying either for a ComEd employee or our authorized vendor Corex. We encourage all the residents to ask to see those badges. They'll all be driving logoed vehicles. It's going to say ComEd on whether it's Corex or ComEd. The Corex vehicles will say Corex on them, but they all have ComEd on them. We encourage people to ask to see those IDs, and if somebody cannot produce that ID, close the door, call police. It is not us. One thing we will never do is ask for money. So there's never going to be anybody at the door representing themselves as ComEd or a representative as ComEd and asking for money. If there's anybody there and it has happened, close the door, call the police. It is not us. We will not ask to go into the home unless we need to go into the home to exchange the meter. And there are a lot of homes that actually have the meter inside. There are older homes. Particularly, we run into those. For instance, we run into a lot of them out in Rockford right now. But unless we have a purpose to go into the home, we're never going to ask to go into the home. And then 30 days after installation, you get another mailer saying, congratulations, you have a smart meter. Here's how you can take advantage of it. And 60 days afterwards, you get one more. So we send you one more postcard saying, remember, you got that smart meter, and here's how to take advantage of it. There are various programs that we encourage people to sign up for. You go on ComEd.com, you sign up for an account, you can review your interval usage the day after you use it, and you can also sign up what's called peak time savings. So, as most of you may know, electricity rates are really set based on the 4 or 5 hottest days of the year, because that's how you have to build your system to be handling peak demand. So if we can reduce the energy usage on the 4 or 5 hottest days of the year, we reduce everybody. And it doesn't take that many people to play. 6 to 8% of the folks, if they reduce their usage on the hottest days of the year, everybody can feel that in terms of the rate. So peak time savings says, if you, and we'll call you, you have to sign up for the program, if you use less electricity on those hottest days of the year than what we would otherwise calculate you would use, and we have an approved algorithm with the ICC, if you use less electricity on those days, then we will give you a credit, $1 per kilowatt hour. Average savings is really $3 an event. We run about 4 events a year. But some people will say $32 an event. Now, I think they must have to turn their whole house off, but nevertheless, they have saved that amount of money. And I would not suggest anybody do that, but it is possible. This is the meter you have on your house right now. It's plastic, it's metal. The little dials turn. There's no intelligence whatsoever. It does absolutely nothing. We have to send the person out to read this meter every month. This is the meter we're exchanging with. This is the meter that will go on all your residential places. This meter is manufactured by GE. I'll draw your attention to the upper left side, I guess. It is UL certified. We are the only utility in the country that requires all our meters to be UL certified. So we do that right up here in Northbrook. What makes a smart meter smart? Has a small computer chip in it, collects the interval usage every 30 minutes, and then it transmits it 6 times a day. So one of the myths on these is it has 2 small radios. One works for us, one works for the customer if they want it to, if they enable it. But one of the myths is that radio is transmitting 100% of the time. It does not. The total on time for that radio and the smart meter is 5 minutes a day, less than 5 minutes a day. It operates on 900 megahertz. That's the same thing as a lot of people's phones in their houses, baby monitors, or garage door openers. So we collect the data 6 times a day, once every 4 hours. It comes in 30-minute intervals, and you can see that the day after. That's important for establishing such things as dynamic rates or being able to better manage your own energy usage. And that is it. I'll pause there for questions.
I just had a couple questions before we turn it over to the residents. And then, as I said, or should we go with the board
I'm sorry, I
first?
can't quite hear you.
I said I just had a couple of questions. If people wanted, at this point in time, before they
Right.
receive all this, it sounds like you got a lot of nice brochures and so forth, but
Yeah.
if they're interested now to learn more about the system, where can they go?
ComEd.com, smart meters.
And that's, they'll be able to find a lot of the
Yep,
information.
a lot of information on there. We also put a lot of third-party information on there. So we're not asking, some folks do have concerns about the meters. I can go into that if you'd like. But we post a lot of third-party information up there. So we're not asking people just to, say, oh, these are good because the utility says they're good. We've got a lot of third-party information on there from Consumers Utility Board, other national studies that have been done. So there's a lot of good information, peer-reviewed information that we make available to people.
How long will the average installation take on a home?
The installer will be in the backyard for about 20 minutes. The actual meter installation, it's literally long enough to pull the old meter out, push the new meter in, 2 minutes. Usually, we're able to jumper around the meter fitting, and nobody loses power. But if you do lose power, it's a minute, 2 tops, usually less than that. So we've been very effective at jumpering this out. Now, one of the things we'll do that may slow this down is we learned in our pilot that the meter is new and we own the meter. The socket is owned by the customer, and it's usually about the same age as the structure that it's going on. So the socket can be in degraded condition. It doesn't do any good to put a brand new meter in a degraded socket. So we have trained all our installers on how to inspect that socket. And if they notice a degraded condition in the socket, then they will either repair it themselves. It's usually what we call jaws. They just tighten a jaw or two. Or if it's a bigger repair, we have electricians on standby. And those electricians, licensed union electricians, will come out and make the repairs. Once again, no direct charge to the customer. It all gets spread into the rates. We will never ask for money. And we're pretty proud of that. Because last year alone, we did almost 16,000 electrician repairs in our 1,000,000 meters. We put in 1,000,000 meters last year. We did 16,000 electrician repairs. We feel good about that. We're leaving our customers, your constituents, safer than when we found them.
So it kind of answers my next question. The residents aren't paying for these meters directly.
Not directly. We file under the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act. There's an annual rate case. And so anything that we're investing in terms of capital goes into that annual rate case, and any of the savings we incur goes into that rate case as well.
I'm sure in some of the communities you've already installed the meters, there's been some opposition, or maybe some in this community. What are your opt-out rules?
Well, first, we have an exceptionally low refusal rate. We've installed about 2 million meters. We've got 0.1% of people who have said, I prefer not to have a meter. That's 1,800. That's 1,800 people out of 2 million. So we have a very low refusal rate. So what happens is, If someone does not want the meter, then they simply have to say that, and we're open to any channel. The best way is to call the phone number that's on the letter. You can call 1-800-EDISON-1. You can write a letter. You can tell the installer. We don't care. You don't want it? Just say, I don't want it. We'll record it as such. Now, we're not going to let it lie there. We're going to try to convince you to accept the meter and the benefits that come with the meter. We have a lot of third-party information, as I said, so we will reach out to you. We will ask what your concerns are, and we will try to present the information. About 50% of the people right now that we reach out to after we provide them with educated material reverse their decision and accept the meter. But if you choose not to accept the meter, and there is no opt-out, there's a delay. The law is very clear on that. You can say, I do not want a meter, and then at which point, after a 4-month notification period, there'll be an additional charge placed on the bill of $21.53 a month. Now, why the charge? One of the big savings, one of the big benefits, and the smart meters over their lifetime, over their 20-year lifetime, return to our customers $2.2 billion in net benefits. So their benefits outweigh their costs. That's why we're able to do it. But one of the benefits is, as I said, there's a small radio in it, transmits the usage information to us 6 times a day, total on time, less than 5 minutes. That means we don't have to have meter readers anymore. So we eliminate all the meter reader positions, not the people. We have a plan for every one of these guys to find a home inside of ComEd. It's one of the reasons we're taking to the end of 2018. But you eliminate the meter reader positions, that saves money. We pass that on to our customers. And I'll tell you, that really resonates with a lot of people, particularly the seniors, that I don't have to wonder who that guy is in my backyard anymore. But that's what the charge is if you decide. So if Mike decides not to have a smart meter, should you pay for that? Because I have to send a meter reader out to read your meter now. You're the only one out there, 1,800 out of 2 million. I have to keep meter readers on property now just to read your meter. Should you pay for Mike's refusal of the meter? The notion is no. The cost causer should bear the cost. And so that $21.53 is meant to cover the cost of the meter reader. And that's reviewed with the ICC. Actually doesn't cover our entire cost. It covers a piece of the cost, but it's sufficient. We're interested in getting the meter in. I don't want the charge. I want the meter to go in.
So, okay, so you say nothing happens for the first 4 months?
That's right.
And then
you get 2 letters. If you refuse, you get 2 letters over a 4-month period and numerous phone calls. Numerous phone calls, because we're going to try to convince you otherwise.
Okay, so you said it's a delay, so how long can they pay that $21.53, and what happens after that period of time?
The law says that everybody in our service territory will have a smart meter within 1 year of the end of deployment. End of deployment is scheduled to be 12/31/18. So theoretically, you got a runway to the end of 2019.
So sometime in late 18 or early 19, you will have to come back
Yeah,
and physically install a smart meter.
that's what the law says.
Okay, there's just not going to be forever that people can opt out.
That's correct. It's very clear on that.
Okay.
That's correct. Now, by that time, we'll have 4 million meters in. People will be much more used to that. We'll have had time to educate folks. We're confident that everybody will be looking forward to accepting a meter.
That's all the questions I have. Al, you want to ask the board if they have questions, and then the residents?
Yes.
In order for, excuse me, in order for people to actually save money, they have to go online and sign up,
Well-
and then they have to monitor their meter,
Yeah.
and if they can turn off power during peak demand times, that's the opportunity to save.
Yeah, I would say in order for people to save more money, because our business case, which returns $2.2 billion net to the customers over the lifetime of the meters, is based on all savings the utility incurs, that we incur. So you don't have to really do anything to break even and make money off of the smart meters. We do that through operational efficiencies. And we didn't put any customer benefits into our business case, but there's a bunch of customer benefits. So if you want to save more by changing your behavior, by taking action, we have programs that enable you to do that. And peak time savings is, well, it's one of my favorites. You can also do what's called, you can buy an in-home device. Now, we don't supply those, but we enable it. I said there's 2 small meters in that radio. One communicates with us, one communicates with the customer if they choose to enable it. You can buy what's called an in-home device, and that will take a feed directly off the meter, and I'll tell you exactly how much you're using at that moment. Now, if you do that, then you can really monitor your usage lifetime, and these aren't complicated. It's like a speedometer or something like that. But what you can do is you can use on in-home devices, and we piloted these in 2009, 2010. You can use these devices to determine what your vampire load is in your house. So you can turn off every light in your house, and you're still drawing electricity. It's that clock over the microwave. It's your DVR that's just sitting there, you know, spinning, waiting for that next show to come on. So you can determine what's called your vampire load. And we know one lady that had an in-home device. Now she was very active in this, but she had an in-home device. And every morning before she went to work, she checked her in-home device to see where she was. And if it was above her vampire load, she went around the house and she found out what she left on and turned it off. She reduced her electric bill by 30%. So if you take action, if you want to take action, if you want to change your behavior, you can save more money. The other thing you can do with a smart meter is you can dynamic rates, real-time pricing, residential hourly pricing, and net metering. You put solar panels on your house. That meter is set to be able to support net metering, which is if you're taking solar and you've got more solar than you can use, you can put the rest into the grid. We'll net that out. We'll pay you for that. The meter's all set up for that. So it's really but it's all choice. You don't have to do anything to save money. But if you want to, there's a lot of options for you to do to change your energy usage and save even more.
What happens if they break down? They're pushing data to you. You say, like, I forgot what you said, 6 times a day or something like that?
6 times a day, yeah. Once every 4 hours.
So do you realize it when they break down and come out and fix them, or is that something the client has to figure out?
We do. We measure, it's called read rate. And in order for the read rate to count on an AMI meter, on a smart meter, I won't get into too much detail, but we have to get every interval. And I have a whole department that just watches that. I shouldn't say a whole department. It's really about 5 guys, but they do nothing but watch that. And if that meter isn't communicating, they're charged with figuring out why it's not communicating and making sure it is communicating. It's rarely the meter itself. So you put the meter in, but then we also have a network. Part of this spend is the network that these meters communicate over. It's like we have our own private network. It's like Verizon or AT&T. You can see it when you're driving up and down the street. If you go by a telephone pole, we call them utility poles. Go by a utility pole and you see a white antenna on top of one of those poles, that's our network. So that gets built. And usually it's just that we need to put in a relay or we need to put in another antenna or something like that. So yeah, we know exactly. Our read rate last month was 99.79%. A little low. We'd like it to be higher than that.
Thank you.
Seriously, we do. We want it higher than that.
Diane, do you have anything?
How much are these in-home devices?
You know, they can be very inexpensive. On our website, we've got a couple already identified made by Rainforest, but you should think, they come all the way from like a little globe that will glow green when prices are low to red when prices are high, or you can get a little more functionality in there, but think about $100. Think about the $100. Now, I have to tell you, the experience with these has been is people that do use them, they're all over them for about the first 6 months. And a year later, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, it's kind of the toaster in the corner. So.
You mentioned dynamic rates. What's a dynamic rate?
Sure. So are you guys on municipal aggregation?
No,
You're not?
no.
Okay. So dynamic rates is almost everybody pays a flat rate. You pay the same amount for electricity every hour of the day, day or night. That's what you pay. It's called a flat rate. But particularly if you're not on municipal aggregation, you can sign up for hourly pricing, residential hourly pricing. The fact is that electricity prices fluctuate throughout the day in real time. And hourly pricing is a program that we offer that you can sign up for. You get the smart meter, you can do it right away, and you will pay the price of electricity for that hour of the day. Now, I'm on real-time rates. The price of my electricity supply right now is about 2.5 cents. And at some time, yours is probably 6 to 8. At some times during the day, it's usually about 3 o'clock in the morning, the price will actually go negative. It'll go minus 1.9 cents. We'll pay you to use electricity. Because the fact is, at night, the country is awash in electricity. So if you change your behaviors a little bit, and you just hit that delay button on your washer, 4 hours, you know, and it goes off later. Or if you have an electric vehicle, you want to charge that overnight, not during the day, you can do pretty well. I'm about $150 a head. And they'll send you a report. You got an app. You put it on your phone. It'll tell you exactly what the price of electricity is during that time, forecasted for the next day, tell you how much you've saved programmed to date, and it's pretty straightforward. Now, it does come with risk because it's not always that way.
Right.
2 years ago, in the polar vortex, it went to 40 cents a kilowatt hour for a single hour. And I was kind of freaking out, you know, 40 cents, that's 20 times as much as I'm used to paying. But, you know, they told us in advance. We went around the house, we turned things off, we monitored our usage. We went up that month, but by June, I was back ahead of the game. So that's what you can do. But you do have to pay a little bit of attention to it.
Sounds like a lot of attention to it, and it's kind of really hard when the words "we're paying you" come out of ComEd's mouth. That really doesn't kind of
It's
like.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Can you speak?
It's usually 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
so I'm not getting up at 3 to turn all the
to turn
lights
lights
on.
off,
but-
right? Or to have things go off at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And remember, ComEd doesn't make any money off of the supply of electricity. We just pass that through. That's the Illinois Power Authority. We don't make a dime on that.
Sure. Can you talk? It's not just smart meters that are being replaced. What's going to happen in the village itself as a whole? You have to do more work than just come to my house and pull a meter off and put one on.
Well, as far for the smart meters, it's that, and it's building up the network, which we've already got the network built out in Burr Ridge. We're done with that.
So there's no digging up of streets, no digging up of people's residents' front yards, nothing.
The only case that we have where we have to dig in a front yard is a safety issue. So we do have cases, we call them frost loops, where if your house has power, which is to it underground, over the years that cable can settle. And when the cable settle, it can draw what we call the raceway, that's the box that the meter is in attached to your house. It can pull that away from the house or pull the meter down. That's a safety issue. So we have 2 ways of repairing that. We went to one of our suppliers. We designed and developed a special product to put in. We call it a bus bar extender. It takes 1 electrician, 2 hours to put it in, make that whole thing safe. But in some cases, we can't do that, in which case you have to make the underground cable longer. In that case, yes, we do have to make a pit to be able to gain access to that wire and make it longer to make the customer safe.
And how, yeah, thanks for the safety tip. But how do you determine ahead of time that that's needed, or is it house by house by house?
It's house by house.
So you come to my house, I'm not home. It's supposed to be a simple meter change, but now you determine you have to dig a pit. You start digging without my permission, without anything, because you're in the right-of-way?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am, we do not. So we'll leave a door hanger on your door saying we're unable to make this exchange because of a safety issue. Please give us a call, and then we'll schedule an appointment that's convenient for you to be able to come out and do that.
And when you do dig and make the pit, is it repaired immediately, or is it repaired, you're saying you're going to do this in the third quarter? I forgot what you said, third, fourth
Yeah,
quarter?
right.
Okay, that's winter.
Yeah.
You're digging and it can't be repaired till, I've got to live with this till spring?
No, no, it's all repaired. We leave it very in good shape. Leave it in good shape. It's all, we have landscapers, they come out, they smooth it out, they seed it.
Immediately
They put
after
little
it's
mats over
done?
it. Pardon me?
Immediately after it's done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that,
Please do.
because you know there are some places that you're going to have to do that.
Yeah. Well, they're a lot less since we designed our new product. So they've really gone down. But yes, there are some occurrences where we have to do that for the safety of the customer.
Okay, and I've read about, and maybe this was a year ago or so, and you can address it, electromagnetic fields with these meters. Can you speak to that at all?
Sure.
And how high they are?
Yeah, well, so I told you there's about 1,800 people who have said they didn't want a meter. And there's about 4 main reasons people don't want a meter. It's data privacy. We collect that usage on 30-minute intervals. Some folks are concerned we'll sell that to third parties. That one's probably the easiest one to deal with because we will not. There's only a couple ways we're going to release that information to a third party. One is you expressly approve it, and we have technology in place called Green Button Connect now that allows people to do that, but you have to say it's okay to do that. We're not going to solicit for anyone. It's anonymous, meaning I aggregate a bunch of information. I take off your name and addresses, and we'll give that to some third parties. They need that to be able to develop more dynamic rates, particularly in the what we call the RESs, who are the municipal aggregators, or it's required by law. Police department comes with a valid request, we're going to cough it up. So data privacy is one. Data security is the other. That's people are afraid you can hack into the meter. It is a wireless device. It does have a small radio in it. They're afraid you can hack into the meter and you can get my usage. We do employ state-of-the-art cybersecurity. The firmware on the meter is able to be updated wirelessly. We hire people to hack into our network. If they identify any vulnerabilities, we plug those vulnerabilities. But and nobody's going to tell you anything's hack-proof. That's just silly these days. I'm not going to tell you anything's hack-proof. But what I will say is that even if anybody could hack into that meter, all they're going to get is a security number, is the serial number of the meter, and the kilowatt-hour usage. There's no personal information in that as well. The third big reason is other. I don't want it. I'm not telling you why. That's a strong indication of something funky's going on, and we probably need to look into it, but they can still refuse the meter. And then the last one is what you're referring to, which is health effects. So, electromagnetic field isn't quite technically correct. Anything with electricity throws off an electromagnetic field. So, those lights have an electromagnetic field. This speaker does, everything does. It's inherent. It comes with the physics. But people are concerned that it is a wireless device. It does have a small radio in it. That radio does transmit to us, same frequency as a baby monitor, garage door opener, but they're concerned that radio frequency can cause health effects and can cause cancer. All I can tell you is the meters are regulated by the Federal Communications Commission. We operate far below FCC limits, There have been hundreds of studies done on health effects of radio frequency. I respect these people's opinions. They believe it. The science just isn't there to support it. So that's my response to that.
Thank you.
I'm happy to provide you with third-party studies that show that.
That's all I had for now.
Trustee Francie?
Yes. You had mentioned that you will call the resident 10 days in advance.
Yeah.
What if they don't have
Robocall, yeah.
robocall? What if they don't have a landline?
Pardon me?
What if they don't have a
It's
landline?
whatever number they have on the account.
Every account has an associated notification phone number.
They do. Well, we hope they do. Some of the numbers don't work, as we haven't been provided the correct information, but whatever the phone number is that they gave us is what number that call will be directed to.
Okay.
Everybody's requested to give us a
So
number.
let's say 10 years ago, I signed up with ComEd and I gave you my landline.
Yeah.
And last year I got rid of my landline because I went to an all cellular
Yeah,
system, so then
okay,
the call can't come through.
Yeah.
And that's happened, a lot of residents are doing that now,
sure.
getting rid of their landline. So how do you contact them 10 days in advance?
Well, you won't be.
Okay,
But we would ask you to call in and update your contact information.
of course.
Yeah,
On the day of the install and the technician knocks at the front door and no one's home,
right.
what happens?
As long as he has access to the meter, he'll go ahead and exchange it.
Okay. Are any modifications required to the meter socket itself?
If they are, it's because of a repair. In the particular case of what we call an A-base meter, A for alpha, meaning it was one of the very first meters ever installed.
Okay.
And these things are like 50 years old.
Right.
There's a special adapter that needs to be put on. Now, oftentimes we don't know it's an A-base until we actually get there, and then the tech will say, ooh, that's an A-base, in which case he'll defer the installation because we have a specially trained workforce that does the A-bases. But most of the time, the answer is no. It's you pull it out, you push it in.
Okay.
If there are modifications to that socket that needs to take place, if they're minor, the installer is able to do them right then. It's if you look at that meter, see those stabs on the back? They go into jaws, and sometimes those jaws get loose, so they'll tighten those jaws up a little bit to make sure it's a secure fitting. If it's really anything more than that, it'll be an electrician. We'll call our licensed electricians out to make the repair.
I had a meter replaced a while back, and when the technician installed the new meter and tried to line it up with the jaws, forced it in and broke the jaw holder, which required a new meter socket.
Right,
So,
right.
okay,
That can happen, but if it happens, we're going to fix it.
okay. At no cost to the
No
customer.
cost to the customer. We will never ask for money, ever, under any circumstances.
You mentioned
Somebody write that down.
I'm sorry?
I'll write it down. Now,
mentioned
you don't
failure
have to
rate.
write it down. We will never ask for money. It all gets spread into the rate base.
You mentioned a failure rate of 99.79%.
Well, that's a read rate. The meter hasn't failed. Oftentimes, we'll just go out and do something, and then it reads.
Okay, so then, what is the failure rate then?
You know, I don't know. They haven't, you know. Too low to count for now. 15 years, maybe a different subject, but we wouldn't expect it to be.
For those residents that want to sign up for these energy saving programs, you mentioned a $1 per kilowatt hour savings,
That's peak time savings.
peak time savings.
Yep.
And they might pay right now 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour, so it's quite a savings.
Yeah,
So,
it is. It's a big incentive to reduce that usage
So-
because it benefits the entire state. benefits the entire rate
that's
base.
calculated off of a proven algorithm.
Yep.
And.
Right.
Okay, that they could test.
Yep.
You also mentioned $2+ billion in savings with
Yeah.
these meters, and no more meter readers, which is another savings,
Yep.
and so a lot of savings to ComEd. How much of these
August.
savings are passed along to the customer
100%.
in lower electric rates?
100%.
So, how does that translate to cents per kilowatt hour?
I don't know that number.
Could you find out for us?
I can try, yeah. I don't know what the number is in cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay, or distribution cost, or whatever cost? How you measure savings to
Well,
customers?
it's not passed through the energy usage. Your bill is composed of about 2/3 energy usage.
I know.
1/3 distribution cost, so it shows up in the distribution cost. The meter itself is about $1.50 to $2 over the average. And so, and it's about twice that in savings over the life of the meter. So the break-even point, you guys know this, you do a capital investment, you invest the capital, your break-even point occurs later. The break-even point is about year 8 or 9. It's in our business case, it's on file with the ICC. That's when you go positive on
Year 8 or 9 for ComEd.
yeah.
8 or 9 for ComEd.
Yeah, we're in about we started in 14 would have been the first full year, so we're 14, 15, 16. We're about year 3 or 4 into the program right now.
Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Mr. President?
So the people who have already been switched over to the smart meter, have they seen any savings?
Yeah, we flowed those savings as we get them through our rate cases.
Do you
Now,
have an
there's
average?
puts and takes, you know, but
Well, let's say a 3-bedroom house or something. Do you have any idea what they might save?
I don't.
Okay, because you talked about how you aren't going to charge for the meter because it's spread through the rate.
That's right.
But in effect, you pay for it because your rate has to increase, I guess, for the value of the meter, even
do.
though you say we will then have some savings.
That's
But
correct.
you still say that after the meter's installed,
Right.
your rate will go down,
Well, after,
your distribution rate.
eventually, the rate will go down. You know, at year 8 is your break-even
So
point.
that's our breaking point. We thought that was your breaking point.
No, we pass all the savings back to the customers.
But you're saving this year,
Right.
so, but we don't get to see it until year 8?
No, you get some savings every single year.
Okay, but that's, I guess, my question. So our rate will go down in the first year, or you don't know if it will because the meters are still?
Net in the first year, the rates will go up because the capital investment is leading the benefits.
Okay.
Okay?
And you're
So then
saying-
as you get further penetration throughout the service territory, you not only get more meters installed, but you also get more benefits. Once you get all the meters installed, which is at the end of 2018, you're done with your capital investment, but the benefits keep accruing. That's why it's not until about year 8 or 9 that you hit your break-even point.
Because you are installing meters all the way through maybe that year 8 or 9, and so there are more costs that have to be incurred by the consumer.
That's
I know
right.
we have no choice. It sounds like
That's
it's
right.
the law is the law.
Right.
But so just so we know, we're not going to see any savings unless we watch what electricity we use with this program.
You'll see more, you see some savings, but what I'm telling you is
No.
that the cost outweighs the savings initially.
Okay,
And then as you work through the program, the savings outweigh the cost.
okay. Going back to the day of installation or the 10-day notice.
Right.
Does this robocall tell us a specific date or just a range of dates that they're going to be in our area?
It's within the next 10 days.
Within the next 10 days,
Right.
but you asked to keep the dogs in. Having a dog myself, you want
Right.
me to keep the dog in for 10 days?
We would.
Excuse
We
me
would,
for
yes.
laughing.
I'm just
Okay, well, I
selfishly, yeah,
guess,
I'd like
yeah,
your gates in and I'd like your gates open and your dogs in.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, work on that.
But if he's not, you know, the technician will knock on the door and he'll ask for the dog to be placed in the house.
Sure, okay.
We'd
that's-
certainly ask for you to put the dog in the house if
Yeah,
you're leaving.
that's understandable.
And
but I
you'll
was-
see these vehicles. We
Okay.
don't send like one guy out to a neighborhood. We blanket the neighborhood.
Okay, so we'll see them on the street and know they're on their way, okay.
You will.
And then back to Trustee Bolos's point, the day and if they have to dig these pits,
Hmm.
can we talk about the size of these pits? I mean, are you talking about one right at the house where the electric box is?
A couple feet off,
A
yeah.
couple feet off,
Yeah.
down of 2 feet, 6 feet?
Well, if it was installed correctly, it's going to be 3.
3 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, but then you're not talking about digging a trench from the house to the street?
No, ma'am. It's
Okay.
we do a cable splice.
Okay,
And we don't do this many of these. These are unusual now. But what you do is because the wire, the cable, is not long enough to get to the meter socket, you have to make the cable longer. So they'll come back off of the meter socket to an appropriate spot. They'll dig down, they'll pull that cable out, so it'll be
Add
from
some
that
feet,
up
yeah.
there. And then they'll install a little longer cable and make a splice right there.
okay,
But
fine.
today, that's an unusual repair.
All right, I do have to ask what was that vampire, how did you describe it?
Yeah, it's
The
called
load, the
vampire
vampire
load.
load.
Yeah, it's called vampire
Can you
load.
explain what a vampire load is?
Sure. It's when even if you turn everything on your house, unless you go down to your basement, and you know, your service panel, it has that big breaker at the top of the service panel, unless you're throwing that breaker, you can turn every light switch off in your entire house, and you're still drawing electricity. Your flat screen TV is famous for it. If you've got a DVR player, it's drawing electricity. Your clock on your microwave, your clock next to your bedstand, all that draws electricity. That's what we call vampire load, because it's on
Somebody
no
told me
matter
that
what.
anything plugged in, even if it's off.
Well, a lamp doesn't draw any electricity if it's off, but if it's got a clock or a little light
Any
blinking
or
on it, or your DVR player or your flat screen TV, those are great ones. They're drawing electricity as long as they're plugged in and you haven't switched them off
One more question.
at the wall. You haven't
My
switched them
only
off.
concern or agreement with some of the people who are concerned and choose to opt out
Right.
is the data security. If, I mean, this could be a police issue too. Will somebody be able to scan and basically figure out when people are on vacation?
I don't think that's possible. It's, if you had, they don't have access to that information. I mean, you do. If you
No, you
set
said
up,
kilowatt usage. I thought if the usage
Right.
has gone way down and
Right.
you might have lights that go on periodically, but
you might.
Yeah,
You
don't
might.
have
So
the
if remember, we are protected. We have cybersecurity. We update our cybersecurity. We ask people to hack into our system. We plug those holes. And I always think that if somebody is really trying to hack into a smart meter, they could probably earn a better living anyways than going after your one meter. But if they did hack into your meter, they're going to get the interval usage and they're going to get the serial number of the meter. So now they need to know what the address is. And then they're going to need to know what your historical usage is. Now, if I had 45 days worth of data or 9 months worth of data, I can only tell when your usage is down.
this
I
isn't a
would have to
drive-by
guess whether
scanner.
you were home or not.
There's not a way to drive by and scan like we do for our water meter. That's
No.
not, okay.
No,
It's a different
I
thing.
never want to say never, but I haven't heard of it anywhere ever. So I'm going to say
Very
no.
much.
I have one more comment, if I could. You say we start getting savings in year 8, but annually you go to the ICC for rate increases. So
Right.
I don't think that savings will actually be there.
Well, there's puts and takes, right? I mean, it's not.
Exactly.
It's not like we're investing all the time. So your savings reduce the capital investments that we made. It's a put. So to any accountants on the board? No, you make a capital investment, that capital investment goes into the rate base, a rate of return is earned on that. The capital investment is reduced by the amount our cost goes down. So when our cost goes down, there's a put and there's a take. Last rate case we had, rates went down. That was last year. I don't think that's going to happen forever, but it did last year. So it's a put and it's a take.
Anyone else?
Just a quick question. This is not only for residential, but also for businesses as well?
That's correct. Yeah, everybody's going to end up with one. C&I is a little harder to do. We have specialty installers for that. That's why they'll be a little bit later, but all this will be done for the residential.
Still this year, okay.
Probably early part of 17, we'll be wrapping up the commercial, industrial, and the specialty meters.
Have you noticed that commercial businesses, take more advantage of the ability to reduce their rates?
A lot of the bigger guys already are on real-time pricing or dynamic pricing, and they have been for years. So in a sense, the smart meters are allowing the residential customers to take advantage of the same program the big guys have had for a while. But if you own a 7-Eleven or you own a small business with a single-phase meter, then you're going to have the advantage of that all the larger commercial industrial guys have right now, and you can make those determinations, rather than just a dumb meter that one guy reads once a month.
Questions from the residents?
You do a good job, and the way you present it, it's almost too good to be true. Everything's in our favor.
I could go on.
The question I would have with your presentations, what are some of the biggest negatives that people come up with
In these presentations,
after you've made them?
After I make them? I
I'm sure
convince
after
everybody.
people hear
Everybody's
it, they say,
completely
"What
on
about
board.
this?
What are we
about
talking
that?"
about?
And so I was just wondering,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had some people come up with questions that are on the negative side.
It's always around the reason people refuse the meters. And primarily around the health effects. We do have a small number of people, very small number of people that, they're just not going to be convinced otherwise. And for them, they can delay the installation of the meter.
Okay. Hey, you,
But we put out quarterly surveys. Our surveys are excellent. We have over 88, 92% of customers satisfied with the smart meter installation, respect for property. What's nice is our installers, if the customer speaks to one of our installers, they are 10 points more satisfied than if they didn't speak to an installer. All our installers are trained on how to answer questions. We get very high marks for respect to property and respect to the people. And that's what this is all about. We call this a customer satisfaction project. We're doing more than just putting in meters.
thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the residents? Yes, sir.
No, sir, you have to come up to
You
the front.
have to come up here.
Your name and all that, too?
Yes.
My name is Glenn Smozinski. I live at 8616 Meadowbrook. I just always have learned that when something sounds too good to be true, it usually isn't. And I just wonder, you've got, Commonwealth Edison has all these stockholders, you have people who own so much going on there, and I don't think they'd appreciate the fact that you're going to be losing money. And the only way you'd be losing money is if we're gaining money. Can you explain how that works?
I can. I can, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're a regulated monopoly. So we don't earn a rate, our rate of return on our capital investment, we're not like Pepsi or a company that charges what the market will bear. We go in for a rate case every year with the Illinois Commerce Commission, who has, and we have interveners, the Attorney General, consumers boards, they all review this data. What we said on the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act, that we just needed a consistent rate of return, and we really didn't have that before the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act. Sometimes we could only recover 26 cents on the dollar. Nobody can make investments if you put in $1 and you only get 26 cents back. So our rate of return it's a formula rate. So we put in our capital investment. So in our business, it's very different from a lot of businesses. There's two colors of money. There's capital and there's expense. Capital is investment. Think of it as new. That's hardware. That's iron in the ground. And we earn a rate of return on that over the life of that asset. Expense flows right through. We recover it, but there's no rate of return. You just earn $1 for $1. Our rate of return is set by a formula rate, and it's tied to the 30-year Treasury bill. So we earn just a little bit more than the 30-year T-bill rate, which is very low right now. So we're happy with that. So that's how, if we reduce our cost, and look, we have one of the leading energy efficiency programs in the country. We invest over $200 million a year in energy efficiency, designed to do nothing but reduce your energy usage. You go to Menards, you buy your light bulbs, they say right there, rebate by instant rebate from ComEd. So we're actively engaged in that, and so it's fine with us if we reduce our cost, we pass that on to the customers, we still have our capital investment, and we earn a consistent rate of return based on that. I think it's 30 basis points over the average of the 30-year Treasury bond in the last 12 months. It's not a very big return. It's actually one of the lower returns in the country for somebody that has Chicago. But that's okay. If we know we're getting it, we can count on it, and we're happy with that. That's why we're doing all the investment here. You've seen the trucks. You've seen the trucks in your street. You've seen the distribution automation devices going up. You've seen the cable. You've seen the little sandwich boards, hopefully, out there that say smart grid happening here. That's all the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act. So that's why we're okay with it. Can I answer it?
Any
I'm
other?
good lowering my costs. Just give me a couple pennies on my investment, that's all.
Any other comments from the audience?
Hi, my name is James Holderman. I am a relatively new resident of Burr Ridge. I have a number of questions, but I'll start with the simplest one, and then I will proceed to the other two. On your website, it is noted, I've spent 24 hours doing research on this. On your website, it is noted that customers can call in with the numbers or take a picture of their meter and send it in, which could help defer the cost to you of having to send out a meter. Is that something that you would take into account in assessing the proposed fee?
We do, but it's still required by law that we have to be able to try to read the meter.
By the ICC?
Yeah.
Is that, that's law?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
well,
then,
administrative code.
Administrative code.
I
and
always get mixed up if it's law or not. but
I'd be interested to have someone explain that to everyone. And then I have a two-part question that's a little more detailed. ComEd states on its website regarding the third-party research that it presents regarding the safety of smart meters and both electromagnetic frequency and radio frequency, and I'm going to quote it directly printed from your website. To help you remain informed on key issues related to smart meters, ComEd provides access to key third-party studies and reports regarding privacy, safety, and security of all smart meters. Please note, no representation is made by ComEd as to the completeness or accuracy of the information contained within this information. It sounds very legalese to me. In particular, some of the information that ComEd is presenting may be incomplete, may contain errors, and may be out of date.
What can I tell you, lawyers?
Well, we're having to make decisions that affect the health of our families based on these documents.
We have a bunch of fact sheets right here. It has, this will guide you to some of those third-party studies. Please feel free to review it.
Well, if ComEd won't stand behind them, I'm not super interested in them. And then I have a question. If ComEd is not taking responsibility for the accuracy of the information presented on its website, are you, Mr. McMahon, as the individual ComEd has sent to address our concerns as customers, taking responsibility for what you are telling me and the people of Burridge tonight?
Of course.
Okay. So that leads me to part two of my question, and I looked at this and began researching a little bit, and in 2010, the Emerging Risks team of Lloyd's of London put together a 24-page document to consider whether exposure to electromagnetic fields from mobile phone use can cause health problems. EMF is emitted from smart meters, and I would like some clarification on the two antennas, the power of both. I believe you said 900 megahertz on one. I believe the other one might be 2.4 gigahertz.
Yeah, but that's frequency.
Okay, well, okay, I would like to have some clarification on that. And in the executive summary of this report, the team concluded more research needs to be conducted on how exposure affects children, and that EMF cases, in this case they're referring to lawsuits, could be more complex than asbestos claims, which was what this document compared EMF claims to. And then after that was in 2010. In 2015, Lloyd's of London, again, one of the most well-known insurance underwriters, excluded any liability for claims directly or indirectly arising out of or resulting from or contributed to by electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetism, radio waves, or noise. In 2015, when asked for clarification from CFC Underwriter Limited in London, the agent for Lloyd's regarding EMF exclusion for this policy right here, which is insurance for architects and engineers, stated the electromagnetic field exclusion, exclusion 32, which I have reviewed, is a general insurance exclusion and is applied across the market as standard. The purpose of this exclusion is to exclude coverage for illness caused by continuous, long-term, non-ionizing radiation, i.e. mobile phone use, or in this case, smart meters. It has been reported as well, and again, these are just reports, I do not know the facts, I have not contacted these people, that Swiss Re, a very large reinsurer, has taken a similar position. Now, we have two very well-known and respected insurers who are paid extremely well to analyze risk and indemnify companies. ComEd has been unwilling to produce, documents that will give us comfort, at least at this point, in terms of standing behind them. But we have these companies that are, analyzing these risks, and they are saying that they're unwilling to cover them. I don't know what the facts of the situation are, but it is enough that it is a concern that I think needs to be addressed, and I would like to know specifically, does ComEd have insurance that will cover the, if possible, which could occur, illness that comes from long-term exposure to non-ionized radiation?
Can you want me to answer that?
I would.
One is, I don't think so.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Manning, you won't be caught on tape. When we need to hear you, you need to be on the microphone.
One is, I don't think so. I don't think we carry any kind of insurance like that. We don't carry any insurance because the science doesn't support that risk. I don't know. This is the first I've heard of Lloyd of London. I can't comment on that. I can't comment on the studies that we have reviewed and that are on our website that you can take a look at and read yourself. I can't comment on these disclaimers that get put on there. I'm an engineer. I've read the studies. I'm confident that they're safe. The only study that's out there a lot of this comes out of cell phone usage, and I think you said that. And cell phones are different than smart meters to start with. And the reason is because of exposure and the long-term usage. The concern on cell phone usage is people start using them very young, they use them a lot, and they carry them right next to their head. The studies so far show that there is no linkage between, specific causal linkage between any type of usage and any type of health effects. But to be candid, and it's in our fact sheet, the World Health Organization, based on what's called an interphone study, once again, cell phones, and I don't know anybody that walks around with a smart meter next to their head for 30 minutes at a time, but based on cell phones, the interphone study, the World Health Organization did classify usage, radio frequency from cell phones as a possible class 2B carcinogen. Now they have 4 levels of carcinogens listed. They have a class 1, which includes asbestos and bacon and tobacco. They have a class 2A. Now they say that is carcinogenic. Class 1 is carcinogenic, period, no question about it. Class 2A is probably carcinogenic, and then that is red meat. So class 2A, possibly carcinogenic, class 2A. And then they have class 2B, which is this falls into, which says probable carcinogenic. And that is talcum powder, pickled vegetables, and coffee. So, and they say more study required. So, okay, more study required. But once again, we're regulated by the Federal Communications Commission. We operate at 5 to 10% of the FCC limits. The maximum on time of these radios is less than 5 minutes a day, and nobody stands next to a meter all day long, even if it was on. Nobody's standing next to it, and there's a wall between you and the meter. So the way you always reduce your exposure is time, distance, and shielding. You reduce the amount of time you're next to it if you're concerned. You put something between it and you, which is shielding, and then you stand far away. And the exposure of these radio frequency, once again controlled by the FCC levels, falls exponentially. It's a square fall. It falls as a square of the distance. So if you could move 2 feet twice as far away, the exposure falls by 4 times. Lots of studies on this. There's a lot of other information. Look, I can't talk to insurers. Insurers are, I'm not even going to go there with what insurers are insuring or not. They have their own reasons for doing that. But lots of studies out there says these things are all the studies, peer-reviewed studies, come to the same conclusion. We have a lot of them on our website, insufficient evidence to change any standards today. And that's where we are. And we operate at far below the FCC limits, so, okay?
Let's start wrapping it up.
Oh, I
Okay.
will. I'll be very,
And I'm
I'll be
sorry,
very, I'll be very brief.
can I ask, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name or your address. Can you tell us that?
Yes, James Holderman, and I live at 32 Deer Path.
Thank you.
The first bit of information I would like to address is that as Mr. McMahon stated, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified radiofrequency as a 2B possible human carcinogen. No one is mandating that I eat pickled vegetables, Mr. McMahon. So my concern is I have to have some choice. My family has to have some choice. It is a possible human carcinogen. It has been likened to asbestos by people who are paid to make determinations on risk. You say that you aren't paid for that. I have no expertise in that area, so I rely on those types of things. So I guess my question to you is, who is going to assume the liability if ComEd does not bear it, if insurance companies will not bear it? Who is going to, handle the liability issues that may arise?
Well, once again, we don't believe there is that liability there, and I can't answer the question. So I don't know who insures against a non-risk.
So you're saying ComEd does not believe there is a risk?
I don't believe there's a risk, that's right. That's all our information, yep.
Anyone else has any questions?
I have a comment. I think you need to tell residents the difference between administrative rule and law, because you guys tend to mix it up all the time and use those words interchangeably.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't mean it.
We view it as binding. I don't get a choice.
But
I
it is the
follow
law. Administrative
code.
rules are the law. It's
They're
what
not
comes
the law.
after the law is written, and these administrative rules are in support of the law, and they just have the same effect as law.
Yeah,
So I
right.
don't see the
I
big
didn't think
difference.
administrative rules were the
Oh,
law.
yes.
We'll get the ICC to come.
Once an ordinance, once the General Assembly passes their legislation, there's what they call a JCAR process, and that's where they create those administrative rules. There's a Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, that's what JCAR stands for, and whether it's in this case or a million other cases, they create these administrative rules. Those have the effect of law. Those are the things that we have to follow. We
binding
talked about
on
the
us,
plumbing
for sure.
code several months ago. It's not in the General Assembly's law. It's in the administrative rules that we had to follow certain standards, and we couldn't amend the code and this and that. So, yeah, I don't mean not be argumentative. I'm just telling you, administrative rules have the effect of law.
Thank you. It certainly does for us.
I will
Okay.
get back to you on that one.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
We have a series of fact sheets here. I'll just leave them up here. if
Well, we'd like,
anybody's
as much
interested.
information as you can provide us, I appreciate that. We'll certainly inform the residents that weren't able to come tonight, that they can watch the tape for the first hour and 15 minutes of this meeting to learn more about the situation. Hopefully, with the information you're providing us, we could add some information to our website, and let them know that, these fact sheets, the flyers and the letters and the robocalls and so forth are coming, and that this program will be rolled out in the fall. If I get a wave of residents who are extremely concerned about this, we may call upon you again and maybe have a special meeting. At this point, it doesn't seem likely, so we'll just continue on with that. But again, we're all about trying to inform our residents and keep them updated as to what's going on. So again, thank you for coming out.